Hey y'all, welcome to our little family farm. It's Melissa. Thanks for joining us. I've just been out here in what we call the freezer house, which is just really part of our small poultry operation, but we're going to go check on the meat birds, the Cornish cross meat chicks. So going to take you with me. We're going to have to step outside and go around the corner of the barn. So probably not going to say a whole lot while we're headed out there because it's really a windy day. We have like temperatures at 50 degrees Fahrenheit. It's March 19th, 2024. Even though it's 50 degrees Fahrenheit, real feel is still like low 40s. So we've had a lot of that cool air moving around, a breeze. But it was wonderful. Just had some folks here that I got to meet for the first time. They're trying out our chicken, trying out some of the candles that we partner with a local business to have for our customers. And so it was always fun to meet somebody new here at our farm market. But we'll go ahead and step outside. We'll get around the barn and get to seeing the chicks. Don't know if y'all can hear me. We'll be able to find out when I vet the video. But what we want to show you is the chickens that we're raising for poultry production, and gonna take a look at them actually from outside the barn. It wasn't really designed to be a viewing area, but it kind of ends up being a place that we can kind of see them from outside without having to go in to the barn and disturb them. So it's great when you have a vantage point with a flock of chickens to kind of see what are they doing when we're not in there impacting the ambient environment around them. So we're going to take a look at that. Some of y'all have heard about our favorite truck. This was Blue Betty, and you can see Blue Betty has been parted out. She's no longer assembled. Now, I'm not going to get to see what we saw earlier, okay, but we're getting a little bit of a view in here. You're starting to be able to see the chicks in there, I hope. We're going to step up closer. I am talking, and the sun moved, and the lighting changed. So we're not going to get the effect actually of what I wanted to show you, but here not too long ago there was actually really strong sunlight, which you still see some contrast on the floor, okay? You can still see a little contrast where it's well lit, and then into the corner on our right it's kind of shadowed. So where it's kind of more lit, that was a stronger sunlight streaming in here previously, probably not even just like half hour before I started recording this, and that was filled with these little chickies. So now it's getting later in the afternoon, and our temperature is going to start dropping, and the intensity of the sun is changing, but we were not able actually to open this building up this morning. We tried to open this building up this morning, like about 9 o'clock a.m. and we had the doors opened, and we did some work in here, and then we had to close the doors because we thought it would let enough sunlight in to help the chicks feel more comfortable, but it didn't, because we have so much air movement that it was kind of making any sunlight that was streaming in kind of void of any benefit for them. So anyway, so what you're seeing now is just some of their normal activity in the brooder. So we are seeing some of them move around. I'll try to get some coming this way. Okay, so there's some standing there. So these chicks are, let me think, 9 days old. Okay, I'm gonna kind of zoom this screen in, and then we'll pan around. We'll pan around the pen. So they're 9 days old, and so they're in production for poultry, for meat production specifically. They are Cornish cross meat chickens, and I am going to look up, we do know what strain they are, and I'm going to look that up and tell you in a future video this week, because it is interesting that there's really 3 predominant strains of the breed or of the type Cornish cross meat chickens. There's some here by the gate, but this is just a panel. This gate, what we call a gate, is just a panel that we put in here so that we can have the doors open. and let sunlight in, but it still makes a safe barrier for the chicks. Look at them lined up here at the feed trays. And then we got Summit Waters over there. Okay, so last time y'all would have seen this pen, we only had the 6 lights in a row there. Okay, so we added a heat lamp. And so what we had going on is that at these heat lamps, the birds were spreading out pretty evenly, except for this one furthest on the right here. And like twice as many birds were trying to fit there as really fit there. And at first, when they first moved in, which was, I was trying to think what date that was. I think it was March 11th. When they first, yeah, it was. When they first moved in was March 11th. So at first, that was okay, that a lot of birds were trying to fit under that light because they were so small. But these birds have grown, so they're considerably bigger than when we moved them in. And so what happens is, like if 24 birds will fit utilizing a light when they first move in, then by, like a week down the road, considerably fewer birds will fit utilizing that same lamp. And then another week down the road, which we're almost, we're getting there. We're about halfway between a week and 2 weeks. Then even fewer birds will fit around. And same thing with, the feeders and the waters. Like you see them lined up at the tray. So we don't have them packed in there, but we can see like where these purple ones are, these purple feeder trays. So that's actually 2 baby feeder trays fit together. So we can tell that so I'm starting from the left-hand side as the birds are facing us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are at one feeder tray. And we could probably fit 1 or 2 more birds in there. So maybe 8 per side, okay? Well, then in a few more days, we're going to squeeze a bird out. We won't fit as many. So that's what we have to constantly be taken into consideration with feeders, waters, spacing, and access to supplemental warmth. And that's why early with this flock, I'm going to try to see these. We've got some birdies right here at the panel. Yeah. So early in this flock, I had said that one of the reasons we do this kind of brooder setup, where we basically section off part of a building, and then we just want to set up a brooder that is bigger than what they need, but gives them lots of space for growing. That's why we want to do that, because if we had a very small brooder for 125 chickens, it would not take very long for these meat chickens to grow out of it, and we would either have to move them or make the brooder bigger around them somehow. And so when we start chicks in this kind of brooder setup, and we think about starting from the end, in other words, how much room do they need when they're full grown, then we never have to move these birds. We can simply start them, let them grow, and provide more food and more water dispensers and more access to supplemental warmth as needed, and the space is already there and they can just fill out in it. And so so what you're seeing here is, kind of a period of activity, and and the chicks do this. They'll be very active, and then while they're in this very active period, they'll eat, they'll drink. Typically, when you see them go get a drink of water, either at the same time or shortly after they drink, they also manure then. And then once they've, exercised some, eaten, drinking, and that's not a word, eaten and got a drink, and then manured, then basically they're going to go back under, in this case, they're going to go back under the supplemental heat lamps. They're going to sit down and they're going to rest. And they're probably going to repeat this cycle then again in about 4 hours from now. Okay. And so part of what triggered the activity is we do have the door open. We do have good natural light streaming in. We also have a lot of air movement from wind out here. And I came around the corner and I'm talking. And so that's all of those things are triggers that stimulate them to react to their environment. Okay. And you know, we documented in the video about these chicks being 8 days old. We documented that we had lost a chick, and that was under this furthest heat lamp, and it was a small chick. It was one that I think we had identified as a runt anyway. And that's, you know, that's the concern when chicks become too crowded, and that's also the concern when we don't see the chicks being responsive to their environment, is that when they have something happen around them that they should react to and try to get away from, then if they're crowded, it takes away their ability to get away from it. And if they are lacking responsiveness, they just aren't going to desire to get away from it. Okay, so that's why those things are a problem for a chicken producer. So and that's why we added the seventh heat lamp. Seventh heat lamp. So there's 7 of them running around the clock in here. But that's why we added the 7th, because we don't want them piling up over there, and some of those birds will move here. And so why is this random bag of wood shavings sitting here? Because at least right where that lamp is and right where those birds will eventually, when things are settled in the pen and the doors are closed and there's not activity from people checking on them, the birds will all settle down. And so like where this lamp is, they'll circle up there where they should to use it in the best way. And we have an example of that in the video I did that was the rest of the story from the 8-day-old meat birds. We show you some good visual examples of how we want them to utilize the heat lamps. So when they're circling up there, this is sitting here to provide a little bit of a wind block, so that they're, even with the door closed, you know, there's some air movement. So that would stop any air movement from right there and attract some more birds over here, so that we're not overloading other lamps and we're getting the birds here. And that's also why, like, the if you hadn't kind of scrutinized the water and feeder setups yet, they're kind of strategically placed too. They look kind of random. But they're not. They're strategically placed to be close to where we want the birds to be able to get their supplemental warmth. They're also strategically placed to encourage even the birds that are least active to move around. They have to go to one side of the supplemental warmth to get the water, and they have to come to the other side of the supplemental warmth to get the food. So that, you know, even if we have some members of the flock that are like, yeah, we're not moving around, they at least have to go that far. They have to do some walking to get between the food and the water. And then like over here, when we added this lamp, that's why we didn't just add a feeder here, because then actually these birds, like if they would decide, well, I'm too cold to go to the water and it's way over there, I'm not walking over there, then they would just forego water and they would become dehydrated. And so that's why we put a water here and a feeder here. They don't have to leave very far from the supplemental warmth, which is what they value over everything else. They don't have to go very far from it, okay? And so I am going to zoom in on something that is a problem that I want to show y'all. Like if this was happening all over our brooder, I'm going to try to zoom in. Okay, so see up against the temporary wall in the middle with the crates, we've got chicks there like just piling on each other. I'm not entirely sure why they're attracted to that, other than just, you know, their theory there, their train of thought would be huddling together for body warmth. And same thing's happening over there. Okay, so pretty soon we'll be closing these barn doors, and I'll assess that, and if they're still doing that, we're just going to walk through and ask those birds to move. I'm going to try to zoom back out. There we go. And I'm going to ask those birds to move, and chances are they will go to a heat lamp, okay? And with these doors, when we get them closed, the birds are actually going to space out a little bit more under the heat lamps and use those the way that we want them to. So do y'all have any questions about meat chickens, about raising meat chickens? If you do, put them in the comments. And so I had mentioned, you know, I will let you know what strain of meat birds we have. There's like, and I said there's like 3 dominant strains of meat birds. And the difference is, they're all Cornish Rock Cross, but the difference is like one strain puts most of its meat production into the chicken breast. Another strain puts most of its meat production into the thighs and drumsticks. And yet another strain has a tendency to distribute the meat production evenly over the chicken's body. So I will double check which strain we have and double check what the tendency is for production with those, and I'll let y'all know. So anyway, we just wanted to show you the chicks here on day 9. And I had wanted to show you how they were really utilizing sunlight, but I didn't get to show you that. So looking ahead, we'll be in these baby feeder trays for a while yet, and the baby waters for a little while yet. Now I have an issue here. I can show you now. Okay, see at this water? We have chicks sitting down to drink their water. We don't want that, so we'll be putting another riser under there. So far, where I'm seeing them eat, they're all standing up to eat. We do want that. So far our height is good on those. Although I spoke too soon. Actually, at this purple tray, the one's facing us, the one as we're looking at them on the left, it's sitting down. So they are getting to where we're going to raise the tray heights. And why is that? Well, as these birds grow, you know, they'll move around less and less. They'll desire to move around less and less. And we will get to a point where we actually gently compel them to move around their pen. But as they move around less and less, they're perfectly content to sit down all the time, including when they eat and drink. And they grow so fast that we want to constantly be helping them build up their muscle strength all over their bodies, but particularly in their legs, because as they get toward the end of production, they can get so heavy so fast that their leg strength breaks down and won't hold them up. And we used to say with horses, no hoof, no horse, and no leg, no chickie, because if they get unable to use their legs, then they will have a problem going to food and water, and they may not go to food and water. And that would, of course, eventually starve them and dehydrate them if they can't continue to eat and drink. So we want to keep the leg strength strong. So it's kind of like miniature exercise and weight-bearing exercise to keep them standing up when they're eating and drinking. And that's why we put the trays there. And I'll mention that again in other videos. But we want to keep the trays at the height of the bird's back. So we can see they are taller than the height of the tray. So it is time to heighten this. And we're gonna end this video up, but look up here. There's one of their neighbors. So that is a 3-week-old. From here, I think that's one of the Marins, but I can't tell for sure. But that's a 3-week-old egg production pullet chick. And these are 9-day-old meat production chickens. And these aren't all male or all female. We have a straight run, so we have males and females in this group. The neighbor there may go back to her pen. We've got them over on the other side, you can see. So, you know, they become very able to like fly and jump up. And these birds can too, to an extent. But there will be no concern whatsoever of these birds getting on top of the yellow crates. On the other hand, those birds, they are very upwardly mobile. So at any rate, so we'll have to be constantly watching how long those birds can stay in here and not stress these birds out. But at 9 days old, size-wise in the body, these birds are catching those birds at 3 weeks old, right? So that one's actually an Easter egger in the back, and then the one in front of it is a Marin. So I think they might at some point jump back down. But see, this door is open. There's light coming in from this side. There's activity over here. They're attracted to that. So we have been turning the overhead light off for all these birds about 4 hours a day. And at the time, though, their heat lamps do stay on. So, all right, y'all, we're going to wrap this one up. But thanks for joining us at Twin Oaks Family Farm in rural Southeast Ohio, USA. It's kind of fun to get in there and see how meat chickens are raised. And this is this is a food factory. This is where real chicken comes from. It has to come from real chickens. My husband just told me today a big name chicken plant, I think one of their plants in Iowa, they're going to be shutting it down and laying off all their workers. And so there's already a prediction that things like that are going to impact prices of chicken meat this summer. So we base our customers' prices on production costs, and we try to keep them, we're going to try to keep them where they were last fall. So we'll see. But anyway, hope y'all are eating real chicken from real chickens if you eat chicken. And it's kind of neat to see, last thing there, see the white tips on the wings. That's their mature feathering coming in. They feather in basically on the wings and tail first, and it'll go out from there. So we'll be seeing these birds with more feathers very soon. Thanks, y'all. God bless you.